Hello, and welcome. Getting everything started here today. Not going to be as long as usual today, I don't think. I'm not going to go quite that long. But we're going to run here for a little bit, and we're just going to have some talks and chats. See what you guys are doing, see what everyone's up to. I missed Ash's chat the other day. He was talking about the man flu. Yeah. Hello, Joe. Hello. All right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Just get everything set up. See what you guys are going on about. We're going to do things maybe a little different here today. Maybe just a little different. We may actually get into some politics. Because I watched the State of the Union last night. If you guys aren't familiar, President Trump did his State of the Union yesterday. And I think I want to talk a little bit about that today. Even if YouTube's unhappy about that. We're going to do it. I think maybe today's video is, we're going to go there. I think I might go there. What do you guys think? You want to go there? I do. I really do. I try to stay very neutral on my opinions on YouTube. If you guys are friends with me on other platforms, Facebook, I don't hold back my opinion on Facebook, but I let very few people into my Facebook that I would allow to see that. Twitter, I try to stay very neutral. Instagram, very neutral. But on my personal Facebook account, yeah, I don't. If you're on my Facebook, you'll know my opinions on damn near everything. But we're gonna keep it mild. I think I'm gonna keep it a little mild here today. But we're gonna go ahead and talk about it because the State of the Union was great. I think Trump brought up some really good points. And I was looking here on Facebook, and I saw something that somebody had posted, and it was like all the bullshit that Trump told during the State of the Union. And one of the things they said was he had said that he created the biggest tax cut for small businesses and individuals. And the thing was saying all these bullshits that he said, and that one specifically was like, well, not actually. Actually, it was this, and this. I'm like, so he did. So he did create tax cuts and this for that and this. It's just not as big as you wanted for individuals. But he did it. So as soon as I saw that one, the whole thing becomes discreditable because if I give you a 1% savings and you say, well, I didn't really save a whole lot, but you did save. So when you say that's bullshit, it's not. It really is. It is exactly what he said it was, and he did save. Problem is people didn't get as much as they wanted because they think they should be on an individual level. The difference is though businesses provide a lot more than an individual does. Just to be honest. Businesses are worth more than an individual because businesses can support and move others. I got no problem with small businesses. I got no big problem with big businesses having a big tax cut. Cut it. It's fine. If everything is still running and these businesses can save. I want people to understand. When you think about big business, do you think that there's some greedy old man sitting up there counting his gold coins?
I sure do.
Yes, gold,
like
money,
Scrooge the Duck.
Big profits, just bring them into my bank account. No, they don't. They have their good-sized bank accounts, don't get me wrong, but they're not just sitting there trying to soak up profits. They're thinking about ways to make more profits, but more profits is good for everybody. Do the burns. Do the burns. Tax cuts for everybody. Big business needs to go down. I don't know. That's bad. Terrible, Bernie. But I always liked how Louder with Crowder called Bernie Sanders a Muppet.
Mr. Burns.
Do Burns. Oh, you want Mr. Burns?
That's what I was thinking he was meaning. I had no idea.
Yes, Smithers. Excellent. Collect the profits. Put them into my vault. Release the hounds. Excellent, Smithers. Yes, collect the funds. Put them away. Make the people pay. Oh, good idea, sir. No, it doesn't happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. Do they have giant bank accounts? Well, of course, but it's also them who took the risk on the business. Like, when people, Walmart's this big, evil, huge business. You know, probably nobody was saying that when, nobody was saying that Walmart was a huge, evil corporation when they were a mom-and-pop shop on the corner competing with something like, Macy's or something like that. The reason Walmart got to be the corporate giant it is because they had excellent customer service. They provided the products you wanted cheap. And that's why Walmart grew. And now, once it gets too big, it's kind of like what was that episode of South Park where they're like, let's burn down the Walmart. And they burn down Walmart. They're like, we're going to go back to the mom and pop stores. And the only mom and pop store in South Park eventually grew so big it became its own chain. And then they burned it down because it got too big. So basically, it's this whole process of the only reason a store can get that large is because they're doing something right, and then people are mad when they're doing something right. Walmart's a giant business. Why would I not want them to have cuts? With them cutting back as many stores as they want, if they cut back, X number of Sam's Clubs, does that mean their remaining employees are probably going to get raises? Well, we know for a fact Walmart's already said they've upped their minimum pay. They're giving out bonuses right now to work at Walmart. So, when you cut back in areas, but you apply the funds to the remainder, that's good. That's fun. I'm sorry for the people who lose their jobs. That sucks. But apparently, if you lost your job at Walmart Sam's Club, I'm sure that they have no problem pushing you over to a local Walmart store or a marketplace, which is damn near everywhere now. So yes, big cuts to Walmart.
World said we have Walmart in UK, but it's called ASDA, but it's the same company.
The same company? Okay. Well, very cool. But like I said, Walmart only got to be where it was because of what how awesome in customer service they were. They came through. They came through in a clutch. And that's what made Walmart Walmart. At one point, Walmart was not the Walmart. Excuse me. I think millennials don't even realize Walmart. I remember when Walmart was not as big as it was.
I remember when there was no Walmart.
When it was still competing with Kmart. When we weren't sure who to go to. There were people who picked their sides. Walmart people did not go to Kmart. Kmart people did not go to Walmart. So what happened that Walmart was able to succeed and Kmart wasn't?
We had no Walmart up until middle school. My middle school year.
I also want to talk about this too. It's like
I didn't even know what Walmart was until I was in high school, middle school, high school. We didn't have one.
We're also going to say this too. I'm going to go on this one too. When they talk about President Obama creating jobs, and Trump says we created 2.5 million jobs, and I've heard a lot of people slamming that. The difference in between the creating of the jobs that President Trump has done and the difference of creating jobs that President Obama done, I'm going to explain it to you very, very carefully. Lex, this may be a little bit more of a boring, live stream. It's not going to be super long.
You want a joke?
Please tell us a joke.
Where does a polar bear keep his money?
In his polar ice cap? Where?
In a snowbank.
In a snowbank. That's
lame but cute.
Yeah. So talking about the job creations, though, when Trump talks about job creations, he doesn't mean that he literally created jobs. It means that jobs that weren't previously.
Said, ha ha ha. J-Man got it.
You guys are silly. When someone talks about creating jobs, the difference is is two things.
I got that joke from a popsicle stick. That did not make it.
That did not make it. All right, so when the jobs are created by what Trump's saying is that new jobs through companies have come to America. That's good. But they say that was the lowest gain or increase in since 2010. The difference is, though, is that when President Obama created jobs, and he says, we created thousands and millions of new jobs, what he did was this, and I'm going to tell you guys, if you're an Obama fan, look, I got nothing against Obama. He did some okay stuff. He had some ideas, but it wasn't the best. But the problem with the job creation he came up with was this, is that he didn't create new jobs, he just made new jobs, and you're saying that's the same thing. No, not quite. And what he does is this, is that, for instance, I'll go off of what I know, because this is how I've interacted, and I'm only going to talk to you things about I know. At the VA, there used to be one lady behind the counter. When you walked in to check in, one lady behind the counter checks everybody in. Now they have three. Three people behind the counter to check people in. Okay? At any given time, there's no more than one or two veterans flooding into the office to be checked in. So when Obama says, I created new jobs, all he did was hire people to do the same job that was already being done. That's not creating a job. That's just slowing things down. And what we wind up having with is that you wind up hiring more people to do. When you hire 3 people to do the same job, basically everyone who knows that they're doing the same job only has to give 50% of whatever it is, the 33% effort, and the job gets completed. But if you hire one person who gives 100% effort and you pay them just a little bit more, say like for instance, these 3 people, we're just going to go on an easy number just to make it round. Let's say they make $10 an hour, 15 if you want, 15 an hour. That's going to be $45 an hour you're spending on employees, all of which you're only doing 33% of the work. What that winds up accounting for is that you've got 3 crappy employees who know that they can keep doing shitty work and nothing's going to happen. But when you take one employee, put responsibility on him, pay him $20 an hour, which actually works out to a $25 an hour saving, that person will work their butt off. That's how he created jobs. He made the same job for multiple people to do, of which nobody was doing it right. That's why our VA system is in such shambles right now.
Yeah, please get that ready for me.
Yeah, I'm working it.
Not fast enough.
Well, you can always jump in and take over.
It's clear over there.
Okay. Anyway, so that's how the whole job creation thing was. That's why he didn't create jobs. He just made new ones. Made the same job a new job. More people to do the same job, and nobody was doing it correctly. So that's where that one goes. Let's see.
You got 6 people watching and only 3 thumbs up.
I got 5 people watching with 5 thumbs up.
Oh. Maybe mine's just...
Everybody likes my State of the Union address. The state of our union is great. Coal is coming back. The U.S. is leading the world in oil production, which that same site that said the same thing about the not true tax breaks. There was never a war on coal. Sure there was. We were supposed to get rid of it. Here's the problem, too, with solar. Everyone wants to talk about solar. I'm going to educate you guys a little bit on solar power. Since everyone is so hyped on, we should be totally solar dependent. Solar is great. Don't get me wrong. Solar is amazing. But solar is amazing on an individual level. On an individual level only. And let me tell you why. There is no way to store solar energy. Okay? No way to store it. And you're saying, well, yes, you need batteries. No, because you don't store solar energy. You charge a battery. Once a battery is charged, all the energy you're making is useless. Useless. So, for instance, let's say, the way a solar energy system, it's a 3-part system. Okay? You got the solar panels themselves, the batteries that the solar panels charge, and a power inverter that inverts the DC power, at least for us, to AC power. That's a solar system, okay? That's a complete solar system minus the wiring and a few other little details. But the problem with solar is this, for instance, okay, batteries don't take long to drain. Especially like most houses will use what's called yacht batteries, which is meant to be recharged constantly on 380 ship-to-shore power. Most of you guys aren't going to be familiar with what a 380 volt system is because in America we use the 110, 220. In the UK, you guys use a strictly 220, 240 volt system. Now, what's called a ship-to-shore power is called 380 ship-to-shore. And what it is that when a ship's batteries, like for instance, a diesel nuclear-powered sub, it doesn't run on nuclear energy. The nuclear energy boils water, which creates a reaction that turns a turbine that makes electricity to charge the batteries. Okay? You don't run on solar energy. You run on electrical energy charged by the battery. And I know you're like, well, if it comes from the same place, it's the same thing. It's not. It's not. It's not. So I know it sounds like it is because it's so simple, but it's not. A little more technical detail. So basically what I'm saying with this is that if we went off of coal completely, fossil fuels gone, and we're only on solar power in a country anywhere, what happens in winter when it's 5 days of gray days outside? Or it snows for a week. There's no strong enough sunlight coming through. You have no electricity. That's it. There's none. You can't store it. All electricity is made on demand. So when we make coal, wind's great. Wind power is great. However, the cost of wind power is very, 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 very expensive. Number one killer of birds in the United States, especially bald eagles, windmills. Very environmentally unfriendly. The maintenance cost of these turbines, hugely expensive. And, again...
Thank you, Coaster World and Gary.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Still no way to store the energy.
They told me, bless you. I sneezed.
I missed that one. You still need...
You miss a lot.
Well, I'm hanging out with them. I don't even want to talk to you. Sorry, I keep losing connection. Hopefully it's better now.
Did you disconnect from Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I did. I disconnected from Wi-Fi, so it stops doing that. The point is, though, is that even with wind power, no way to store it. Then there's hydropower, too. Sure. There's hydropower, water power. I like the wave one. Now, the wave idea is good, where it uses the waves to push down a paddle, which turns a turbine. Okay, that's great. That sounds wonderful. That is good. That's good. Problem with those things, though, is that you need the constant motion of the ocean, which is great. Again, high electricity cost. Anytime where you're dealing with water and electricity. Now, I do like the buoys that they've come up with that go up and down with the wide rays of the waves. There's the shore ones. The way the ones on the shore work is there's a paddle connected to an arm, connected to a wheel like a locomotive. And when the wave comes in, it pushes the thing down, and then it comes back up via spring, which turns a turbine and creates electricity. Great. It's wonderful. Those do good. Again, very, very expensive, though. And you got to remember, though, all energy created is DC. Okay? So it's DC power. We're still making direct current, which means we still have to store it close by because DC can only travel a short distance. We still have to store it, and then we still have to invert it. So you still need a huge powers. They just don't make enough electricity that way. Now, you're thinking maybe all of these, and then again, though, with the wind power, wind is great, but what if it's not windy? And you know what? Many wind farms, I was out in California, and up in Northern California, they have quite a bit of large wind farms. The problem with the wind farms is, though, is that generally due to maintenance, at any given time, only a couple are working. Because they're always having to do maintenance. And it's not easy maintenance on those things. You got to pay. There's a fee associated with it for every, I want to say 50 feet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe more. Maybe somebody knows more about it. But for every certain distance you have to go up a tower, they have to pay you more and more and more. For instance, the guy who changes that light bulb on the top of the tower, I think he makes something like...
And he has to do it once a year.
He
makes like a full year's salary. Off of just changing that light bulb once.
It's quite a bit of money.
My mom's ex-boyfriend did the cell phone towers. Here in Tennessee. Wow, that was real southern. And he was making mad amounts of money. But the problem was he was working on the road. So, unfortunately, he really didn't have time to spend said money. He couldn't build up assets because he was going back and forth between hotel rooms. Okay. So, the lifestyle makes it hard.
Well, again, though, but what I was going to is that it's a ridiculous amount of money they have to pay for that.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's up that. And that's cell phone carriers. And do you know who pays for that? It's not the U.S. government who pays for that. That's the cell phone tower company's job to pay that guy.
That's why you get all the surcharges.
When you take our electrical company... And it's kind of a government-run organization, sort of. When you take that and you put that burden back onto the people, what you're going to do is you're going to see rising energy bills. Now, if everybody was comfortable enough with everybody's energy bill doubling right now, we can go do solar power. We can go do wind. We can go do wave. We can go do all of that. But you got to be comfortable with your electric bill at least maybe doubling to tripling to cover the cost. Right now, even with efficient solar power, it's never been an issue with solar power to create it. They were expensive to create. Problem is, though, is you have no way to store the energy. Oh. Once you're full, that's it. Once your batteries are charged, that's it. That's it. You can't get any more. Like I said, on an individual level, it's great. If you know your power needs and you have a way to kind of like... a solar panel would be a good way to supplement energies, but it would never be an energy replacement. Still need batteries, absolutely.
He also said very dangerous work, and yeah, that's why they get hazard pay as well.
That's why for every level they go up the tower, every X number of feet, they get paid more and more and more.
It's called hazard pay.
I think it's every 300 feet is another $500.
Something like that.
Something along those lines. I'm not sure on the numbers, but I do know that there is a...
I mean, they do make good money, but it's, risk to
reward.
There you go. Sorry, the flu's got me.
Yeah.
Muddled in the brain.
What are we talking about? Harvey, I'm doing my little State of the Union address, and we're going to cover some things. I don't normally go very political on my channel, but I figured we'd try something different here. Now, of course, though, I know a lot of you guys are not from the U.S., so this probably may not apply to a lot of you guys, but I've always seen that anybody who is part of our the United States coalition, Canada, the U.K., I would go as far as to say Mexico as well, because they are our continental neighbors. Mexico as a whole isn't a problem. It's the corruption that's an issue.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. So this applies to us. So you may know about some of this stuff. We're talking about, though, like, I wanted to talk about how with coal. Coal is still the most abundant, clean burning energy. Coal does burn pretty clean, whether people believe it or not. I mean, it's coal. It's just, it's no different than it's something interesting, too, is nobody ever complains about the CO2 emissions from a forest fire.
Harvey's from Florida.
And nobody complains about the carbon that's going into the air when there's a forest fire. All of these things, why? Because it's not that big of a deal. Coal and carbon are not that big of a deal. Okay? Think about this too. At one point, all the coal that's in the air,
propaganda,
all the coal that was in the air, that's CO2, right? Meteor comes in, boom, hits the earth, right? And we know that that's the case because if you look at the peninsula of Mexico and Florida, that was where the impact happened that killed the dinosaurs. Okay, how many thousands and millions of tons of coal, oil, all that junk went into the atmosphere? Tons and tons and tons of it. Okay, and then it settled back down. It comes to the earth. It's a cycle.
Quick question.
Sure.
For you. Is that how you spell your Instagram name?
Unique Drink Guru. It is. Yes,
okay.
It is. It's also linked to my channel art. If you guys go back to my homepage, you can find my channel art. It damn near split the earth. It did. And it threw up all kinds of stuff into the atmosphere. Point is, though, is that if you burn coal, the byproduct will eventually settle back down. And it's no big deal. It's no big deal. Coal is not dirty. It's like we're not running out of oil. They told us I remember seeing an article when I was years ago that said by 2000X, I think it was like 2012, we would be out of helium. We're not out of helium. The point is, though, is that you can burn coal. Coal is a good way to burn. It's on-demand electricity when needed. Yes, she is. She's here to hang out with us. Electricity on demand. Hotter fire turns the turbine more, produces more electricity. A lower fire does not. The point is, though, is that there's always the fire burning. You got to keep the fire burning. What else can we talk about the State of the Union address? We're not going to get into too much of the racial aspects of it all because I don't think that there's anything necessary there. I just don't. It's just not me. I don't like to get into racial politics at all because I think it's a losing battle. I get put in the middle of two. I'm a Jewish guy that looks kind of white, so I'm screwed either way. Both sides don't like me. Yeah, the pole shifted. That's probably what caused the tilt to the Earth, which was make our summers. We probably should have only had really 2 seasons here, cold and hot. Cold and warm would have been the 2 seasons, but when you add a 23-degree tilt, then you get more seasons. Point is, though, so we're going to stay away from those because I don't like racial stuff like that. The wobble. Well, the Earth not only has a tilt, but it also wobbles. Okay, so you got to remember. Let's do a representation. I want to show you guys. And I'm going to tell you about global warming, it's not global warming. There's no such thing. Okay, so let's take something that you guys can see in a nice visual. Here we go. Got this little heart monitor. So our Earth is rotating.
It's actually a pulse ox. It's not a heart monitor.
Whatever. It's spinning. Our Earth is spinning.
Cocoa Puff.
North Pole, South Pole. Our Earth is spinning. Okay. It's also tilted at an angle.
Somebody said
and spinning.
Shimmy, shimmy.
It's on a tilt, spinning, and wobbling. So what happens is this wobble is if you think of the Earth. I wish I had. Oh, I do have a ball.
There's also one in the bottom of the cat
This is
house.
perfect. This is perfect. So here's our North Pole, right? And there's our South Pole. So when the Earth is spinning like this, it's also wobbling, which means it's going like this. Okay, so it's spinning, tilted, and wobbling. Now, if you can measure that wobble, which takes about 2,000 years to do so.
Mr. Harvey was my 70th subscriber.
Yay, Harv. Way to go, buddy. 70 for Evie. Now, what I was saying about that information with global warming is, for instance, the sun is here. Now, when our Earth is tilted and wobbling, when the wobble gets closer to the sun, see how it's wobbling and tilted? It got closer to the sun. We start seeing heat increase, temperatures. This is why we had the hottest year on record this year. But, flip side of that, when you go to summer or winter, okay, we've also had the coldest winter recorded on season. Basically, there's an equinox. Okay, when the wobble's closer to the sun, it gets warm. The opposite is we get super cold in the winter. No, it's not very much speculation. This is pretty much, you can see it. Point is, though, is that when it spins, it gets closer to the sun. It's just simple observation. This is how the Mayans were able to predict all of this stuff. It's just simple observation. Anytime you gather data, you create information. So, when it gets closer to the sun, you get hotter. When it gets, and in that same turn, we get the coldest. There's 2 points where you're going to be the coldest and the hottest, and then 2 points in the wobble. So it's about a 500-year window of warming and cooling, and it does it twice, and then you go into 2 kind of rest periods. So you have 2 rest periods, and then 2 extreme periods. And the Earth is constantly doing this. It's called climate change, not global warming. Now, what happened was, though, is the climates are always changing. And now they found out they can't sell you the lie global warming anymore because the data disproves that the planet is not just getting hotter, it also gets colder. So they stopped calling it global warming and they started calling it climate change. Well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, to call something climate change. For instance, the Sahara Desert used to be a forest. And with it being a forest, something changed to that. The climate changed. Something caused the climate to change. A tilt to the Earth's axis would cause climate change. Do we as humans have an effect on the climate? Well, of course we do. Do we have a lasting effect that can cause this much? No. No, not at all. Everybody knows the Earth is flat. Oh, that's a good one. I was thinking about making a video where I go outside and I'm going to put a ball down on the ground and see it's not rolling. And if the Earth was round, the ball would roll, but it doesn't, so Earth is flat. I just wanted to I like making videos like that. If you guys haven't noticed my chemtrail video, I make them specifically to piss off people who don't believe in chemtrails. I'm not 100% sure what they are, I don't care, but I've always noticed that the more angry you are about a subject, the more people are willing to talk about it. If somebody's happy about a subject, we all smile, laugh, that's wonderful, and we move on.
Is water wet or not wet?
We already answered that question the other day. It's very simple. Being wet is a adjective, not a noun. Water is a noun. It's a thing. A noun cannot be a noun.
A noun cannot be a verb or an adjective, I mean.
There you go. So the process of being wet is the process of being covered in water. Therefore, water itself cannot be covered in itself because in itself, it is itself. So I think we can answer that one. That's actually very simple and easy to answer. So, there you go. It's a mixture of the, you're at 603 subs. Congratulations.
630.
It's a mixture of how once again, the English language has become bastardized and nobody can figure it out. Is water wet? It's the simplest, basic English will answer that question for you, which English was one of my very, very strong subjects. I love English. Getting wording, grammar. I love being a Nazi grammar. I love it because the nice part about it is when people get angry.
A Nazi grammar?
A grammar Nazi.
Okay. You're talking so fast.
I know. The nice thing about it is that when you're being a grammar Nazi and people tell you to shut up, it's because you're right. And they know it. Are we going to do that? Should we go ahead and just change this to conspiracy theories?
No. Conspiracies.
Common conspiracies. Let's do that one. We're going to change this one to common. That's going to be the name of the video. Thanks. See, you guys always help me. I always come up with a name.
What is wet then? Because water is almost water.
Hold on. I missed that question. Let me read it one more time. What is wet then? Because water is almost water. What is wet? Wet is the action of being covered in water.
Not action. It's really an adjective.
It's the result of. It's the result of having water on something. So when you take water out of, for instance,
when you say you're wet, you don't assume that somebody's soaked in soda.
Wait, is the inside of this bottle wet? No, of course not. It's containing the water, but it itself has not absorbed, nor is it covered in. It's containing.
That's just getting down to semantics. That's
not really I guess so, but that's not common. We'll call it common conspiracies.
Is the U.S. government covering up the existence of Sasquatch?
There we go. There goes. I want you guys to know by putting in the word conspiracies, I have demonetized myself. Just so you know. Yeah, it's already done. I'm going to be demonetized the second I hit the enter button just because I used the word conspiracy. But that's okay. I don't really...
Yeah, wet is when it stays on something.
Exactly. When it has become bound to it. For instance, a shirt absorbs the water. It is then wet because the water has absorbed. I I think that's a good way of putting it. Can it be absorbed? Technically, when you get wet yourself, when you say you jump in the pool and your hair is wet, your hair isn't really wet.
Spelling don't matter, but grammar is important.
Absolutely. Spelling is completely useless, but understanding is the more important aspect of any conversation. That's why I don't.
Sick?
I am sick. Evie and I are both a little sick right now.
I got him sick from work.
She did. She brought home a terrible disease.
We are all ugly bags of water.
Yep. But the point is, though, guys, I think we covered that one. We took care of that one. So it's just the way they play with wording that they confuse people with that question. And it should. That's why I go onto Facebook with all these questions. Why do they blame science on melting ice caps? Ice is hold on, I have to get back to that one. One more again. Let me see.
No, because when water freezes, it condenses into a smaller area. You can fit the same amount of water into a smaller frozen area. That's why when ice caps melt, they actually do expand the sea, because there's more water in a smaller area when it's frozen.
I wouldn't say, let's see, it says, why do they blame rising sea levels on ice and caps? I'm going to tell you why they blame rising sea levels on ice caps. Because they've got nothing to... Wait a second. Let's look at this, though. Based on the average model of what they said was going to happen with global warming, there should have been, at least by now, at least a foot rise in sea level, right? Which means anybody who lives on the coast should have lost a foot of land. Or not even more than that, because 12 inches spread over. Basically this, though. Here's a good way to completely throw off global warming, okay? If I was a banker... okay, and I was part of that elite club that knew about all of this stuff that's going to happen. And I knew that in 10 to 30 years, all coastal property would be underwater, right? Gone. Florida, gone. You guys in the UK, gone. Your property is gone, at least within 10 miles of the coast, or very damn near close. I wouldn't invest. I wouldn't give out mortgages for those areas. I wouldn't give out home loans. I wouldn't give out business money to be put into it. I would rent nothing on the coast. I would put no money into the coast, knowing that my investment in 10 to 30 years will be gone. So we don't see that. It's never happened. It never happened. When Al Gore came out in the 90s, there has been no sea rise. I don't get the world is flat, then it really messes them up. No, the world being flat is kind of preposterous. We have, when people say, we see no complete images of Earth from space, that's because the Earth is really, hold on, focus. The Earth is really, really, really big. And to get the distance you need to get all of it in, it's impossible. You have to leave low Earth orbit, and we don't do that. So what you do is you take sections here, sections here, sections here, sections here, just like we do with mapping or nobody complains about Google Earth. But it's the same thing Google Earth does. They scan over and they make a composite. When you look at Google Earth, do you really think you're looking at a complete image? No, you're looking at a composite. It doesn't mean it's not real and accurate. It's just a composite. No. Joe, do remind me. I want to get back to Sasquatch in just a second because that's a good one. But sea levels aren't rising. If anything, they go up, they go down a little bit depending on the snowfall that year. People say the ice caps are melting, but they never account for the snowfall that year. Okay, so you lose 2 inches of ice that fall off the glacier shelves, but 6 inches of ice fell into in snowfall that was trapped inland. Sea levels aren't rising or shrinking, at least by now. 1996 is when they said within 10 years in 1996, that would be '06. And it's been 20 years since then, and you know what? The same beaches that were there then are still here now. What they try to do is they try to scare an older generation. I know yours does. Mine keeps losing connection. It's because we're talking. See, they don't want us talking about this, guys. They don't want us talking about these subjects on YouTube. Like I said, I already know this is going to be demonetized just because of the subject I chose. Just because of the subject I chose, this is over. So I don't care. We're going to talk about it anyway. We're going to lose him. Okay, we're going to cover whatever weird stuff. Boy, we went from the State of the Union. We're going to do conspiracy theories. But I think all of this kind of, in a weird way, kind of ties itself together. Mine looks pretty clear on the screen right now. I'm actually seeing on mine, it right over there, it looks nice. This is the clearest I've ever seen it in a while. So, it's probably, honestly, YouTube slowing it down. Hello, Daniel. Thank you for stopping in, man. Yeah, but Phil, you got to remember though that the land isn't resting on the water. It's a shelf. Okay, so it comes up from the seafloor and it's pushed up, and there's land. If you look at the picture of the Earth drained. That's all it is. The 1580s. So no, it's not like islands that are land that's floating on water. It's connected to the crusts. See, exactly like that. If global warming was true, you would see them buying up desert property in California, knowing that when California would sink, like we all heard about California sinking into the ocean, which is impossible. Oh, there you go. Exactly. It pushes it down from weight, and the land around it pushes up. It's just if you push somewhere. It's okay. Good example. Perfect example. What Phil was talking about. Thank you, Phil. I got a ball here. Okay. As the weight of water increases, it squeezes, creates a bulge, lifts up. Done. I don't even have to have a degree for this, people. Now, I'm sure there's more science to it that I'm not 100% sure on, and I'm sure there's more numbers and considerations, but maybe there's not. Maybe what it is the conspiracy is they want you to think you have to be intelligent to understand and make reasonable decisions about the simplest of things. They make you question simple things. And that's the point. You shouldn't question simple things. If the simplest answer is generally the right one. When someone wants to present a complicated answer to a very simple problem, it's because someone's lying or bullshitting you. There you go. Well, I guess you could also go then to fish bones. There's never been what happens to all the life in the ocean when it dies. It's the bodies decay, but there's still something somewhere. So maybe it's just that maybe we should just be killing more fish, because if we took all the fish out of the ocean, they would stop displacing the ocean and then the water level would drop. So I think what we should do is we should just take all the fish out. You know what? We should take out blue whales. They do nothing. Nothing. Take out blue whales. Gone. Blue whales, gone. This water is displaced. Water levels go down. Done. But think about this then. How about this, buddy? Okay, now you came up with an interesting point. Now, I want to counter that. Okay? So, if the boats are displacing the water, right? But we took the minerals to make the boat out of the ground, creating an orifice, a space for water to now flow. Then the water level goes back to normal. I know.
King of the Hill.
But if we
favorite anime?
Animated cartoon. It's probably just anime. King of the Hill really isn't called an anime. It's just a cartoon. Anime is more Japanese.
Yeah.
Coaster World is kind of funny. I think, but see, no. I love that idea. Thank you, Coaster World. This is the exact kind of thinking I like, outside of the box. What you guys have to remember is that when you think outside the box, always remember there is no box. Okay, Joe. We're moving to Sasquatch. You want to know what my Sasquatch idea? Guys, these aren't my beliefs. Everything I'm telling you isn't beliefs. We're having fun with conspiracies. We're gonna play with them. I think that Sasquatch, the Earth is flat. Well, I mean, if you want to believe the Earth is flat, I guess it doesn't hurt. Okay. What is gained by the Earth being flat? What is gained by the Earth? The knowledge that the Earth is flat. What is gained? There has to be a gain for something. A lot of people have to be in on this too. But what's the gain? God. God's the gain. God is gain. Okay, it doesn't change anything. If the earth is round, the God who would be God then can still be God. But if the earth is flat, that doesn't change anything. There's no gain. There's no gain. Because you can believe the earth is flat and still believe in God, and you can believe the earth is round and still believe in God. So there's no gain there. I'm always wanting to base everything on it. If I'm going to lie to somebody, there has to be a gain. I have to find a gain. Why? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay? And he moved across the earth and he moved across the waters and it was without form. Okay, what's containing the waters before he made the earth? Gravity would have to hold it in place. If it was a flat earth and there was no waters to be held in, for instance, there would have to be ice to first hold in this water, so that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But if we moved a pure watery earth, let's say there was a God and there was a ball, and we used a pure... Now, God still has to move it within these... He doesn't have to... Because this is just... I'm just going to speculate. Everything is speculation. We're just running... You guys are using my brain as the computer. We're going to put information out. I'm going to swirl it around, and I'm going to spit out whatever comes out to you. Whether it's what you want to hear or not, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to give you... And I'm not saying this is my beliefs. I'm just giving you a what if. Think about it. Just think about what I say. That's all. Earth split from a meteor. Okay, did it break in half or did it crack? The crust cracked, causing lava to flow out to fill in. Very simple. Okay, but no, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Is it possible the Earth is flat? Well, I guess so. But then I've always wondered during a flat Earth when they show the model of how the moon and the sun are going around each other. How does an eclipse work into that one? Because that would mean if they're opposite each other, which would make sense that they would be spinning around each other. Well, see, that's where they say that Antarctica isn't an island but a ring. So I get it. Trust me. There's an argument there. There's an argument there, but I just don't think it scientifically holds up. But okay, you would be at the center of mass. I don't think there would be. If you were at the center, you would be part of the pole. So technically, if you could get into a cavernous opening, there would be no pull of gravity. You would kind of just float in space. Yes, you would just float. You wouldn't... I don't think we would want to use the word hover, because hover is implying that you're pushing against something. When you hover, you use a downward force to give you upward lift. Okay? If you were at the center, there would be no direction to be pulled because you'd be at the center of mass. Therefore, you would just sit. You would be static. Similar to space. No gravity present. You kind of just sit. I love this. This is fun. The moon is hollow. The moon is hollow. Absolutely, Daniel. Now, this is one I do think. I think the moon is hollow. Why it's hollow, I don't know. But it would make sense, though, that let's say that the moon... They always... I've heard the theory that... that there used to be a planet which is in the asteroid belt. And what happened was it was called Tiamat, supposedly. And what happened was Tiamat was about a Mars-sized planet. And when Tiamat got knocked off its axis, or off its what's the word I'm looking for? Go around the sun.
Rotation?
No.
Orbit.
Thank you. If Tiamat got knocked out of its orbit and it collided with the Earth, this would cause... The Earth being the bigger is the one that wins the collision. Whoever is the biggest wins. Okay? Thank you, orbit. So, Tiamat gets knocked out of its orbit. Boom! Collides with the Earth. Boom! Right? All the heavy metals that were in the Tiamat's crust, mantle, all of this, became into a liquid state, liquid hot. Gravity from the bigger planet pulls the heavier metals in. Okay? This gives us a two-planet magnetic core. Two planets, iron magnetic core, twice the power, creating, that's what it needs to sustain life. You need two planets to collide, to at least have, there's so many things, causing fire, burning stuff up, and as the metals went in, iron cores went to the center of the planet, making a strong magnetic iron core. The only thing I've ever had, we'll get onto that, maybe that's something different, but, so they collided. Now, the lighter materials were spread out all over the universe, or all over our solar system. I would bet you dollars to pesos that if we went to the asteroid belt and we brought back an asteroid, you would see similar compositions between the asteroids there and the moon rocks. And what the moon is that when it collided into Earth, a big debris field was sent out. It went spinning. Eventually, it formed rings around the Earth, just like you see on Saturn. And eventually, those rings condensed into a light material. No dense core, because it would be hollow because there's no densities. As it spins, the moon doesn't spin, but by centrifugal force of the Earth, it would pull all the lighter elements to the surface, and you'd be left with a more empty or hollow because there's not a whole lot. There are minerals and elements on there, but no heavy elements like gold, maybe some iron, nickel, maybe some tungsten. But you're not going to find I don't think you're going to find iron ore up there, tons of it. I don't think you're gonna find some, because clearly there's some there, but I think the majority of its mass, probably I would say 80% of its heavy metal content, went into the Earth. And that's where we get the asteroid belt, that's where we get our moon, a third the size of that. And it would make sense, though, if you had the third the size. You know, it's always been wondered why the distance to the sun and the moon makes an eclipse. Well, if the Earth was in a similar orbit, and then I ejected about 30% of a planet into the orbit, it's going to kind of balance itself out. It almost makes sense that at this orbit's distance, the way the gravity would affect things, it's going to make things of a certain size based on the material available, and you're only going to be able to get so big based on the gravity that can hold it. For instance, the Earth could only hold an object this big. The rest was flung out into either into meteors, or some got pushed out. And what we wound up getting with, it almost makes sense that if I was in a machine rolling dough balls, and I made a dough ball this big, and then you gave me 30% less, it only makes sense that when I roll a dough ball, that I'm going to get a 30% smaller ball. We are trapped by you're talking about the Van Allen radiation belts. Okay. Now, here's the thing about we're not trapped by the radiation is something that people are very, very iffy about. And people don't know a lot about radiation. I do know a little bit about radiation. I was a radio tech. No, please, I love this. I love when you bring it up. Please, keep bringing stuff up like this, because this gives me interesting subjects to talk about. And then you guys get to dive into the brain that is me. Please, keep these coming. And I know that you guys are just putting them out there. Just put them out there. Anything you've heard, I want to talk about it. I'm going to put my spin on it. Okay, the radioactive Van Allen belts. I have a little experience with radioactive. See, this is the great thing about these conspiracy theories, is that they're basing the idea that the people who watch these have to have no understanding, just enough understanding to get themselves in trouble. I myself have a little bit more knowledge than the average man of radiation, because I've worked with the radioactive material. For instance, I'm going to tell you guys right now. I was talking when I went to the VA. They were doing my evaluation, and I told them I can't have kids. And they said, why? And they said, I said, I used to use a radioactive piece of equipment in Iraq. And the guy goes, oh yeah? What kind of equipment was it? And I told him, I said, I was using a Cobalt 60 source. His eyes, I didn't expect him to understand this. And if you guys out there don't know what a Cobalt 60 source is, you should look it up. Cobalt 60 source, the guy's eyes got huge looking at me. He was like, what? I was like, yeah. And he goes, how long were you around it? And I said, about 28 hours a week. Minimum. They shot me out of that room so fast. And, well, I'm already crazy. Radio frequencies will cook your brains. Yeah, they will. They'll cook brains. Well, anything can. If I can pump anything, that's called well, you got to remember, radio waves, radio frequencies are a little different, because it is the higher you go, the different spectrums you can get into. Radio waves vibrate at a certain frequency, and if you can increase that frequency, of course you can. And if you can line that frequency up, 16 will do it. 16 hertz. Or 16 megahertz or gigahertz. 16 gigahertz. That'll probably mess you up pretty good. I don't remember what the LRAD. Let's look up the LRAD's frequency. And the LRAD was another piece of equipment I used in Iraq. 16 hours a week. Oh, yeah. 16 hours a week will do it. Let's see. Cobalt 60 source. Now, I do remember this, too, when I was taking the class. And they told me, they're like, don't worry. The radiation from this equipment is completely harmless. In fact, the sun puts out more radiation than you'll get exposed to with this. And I'll never forget the guy saying that. And I raised my hand and I said, excuse me. And he said, yes, Private Greenbaum. What is your question? And I said, you told us we'd be doing measurements, correct? And he goes, yes, every day you will... why did they shoot me out of the room? I don't know. Because I told him I worked with a Cobalt 60 source for 28 hours a week for no less than 12 weeks. Not 12 weeks. For no less than 9 months? 9 months? An LED. I probably light up now. But the point is, though, is they got me out of that room quick when I told them that. And then all of a sudden, everything I needed... they told me basically everything. So here's the point, though. Is I asked this question. I says to him, we're supposed to be doing measurements. They gave me this cool little toy, and it was my measure machine, right? And it took me a long time to figure out this measurement, and I looked all over the internet to find it, and it was called rads. The amount of radiation I was measuring was measured in rads. And I looked online about these rads, and the levels that I was being exposed to, they say, were harmless. However, the amount of time I was being exposed to this was what was dangerous. Point is, though, is this. Is I asked the question, I said, if you guys give me this little machine, and Sip can remember, he was there with me. He used to work on this equipment all the time. Poor guy probably stood right next to the damn thing. And I was using it, opening and closing this radiation source with Sip right there on the ground.
Not lead vest.
So I says to him, if I'm supposed to do measurements, the piece of equipment was here, and I was supposed to measure it back here, in front of it, to the sides, and inside the cabin. And then I was supposed to measure it again while the source was being opened and active at all 4 points. And I says to him, you told me that the sun is going to put out more radiation than this thing. The guy goes, yes, that's correct. There's more radiation. Your cigarette has more radiation exposure than this thing will. I said, okay, that's good. Question. If the background radiation is supposed to be higher from the sun, how is my sensor going to pick that up? Never got an answer to that question. He was like, I don't know. This is what my company told me to teach you. That's what I got. I was told. My company was told me to tell you this, and that's what I'm doing. So, stumped them. That's why they got me out of there so quickly, though. If you look up Cobalt 60, let's do that real quick. Cobalt 60. They make a bomb out of it. Its decay rate, half-life. I think they said it was something like a 5.26 year half-life, which means it burns. It's an isotope. Cobalt 60 is a synthetic radioactive isotope of cobalt with a half-life of 5.2714 years. It is produced artificially in nuclear reactors. So the source I was working came with, it has 27 protons, 33 neurons. It has a natural abundance is trace. Isotopic mass is 59.93 with a decay mode of decayed energy. It uses gamma rays and beta rays. Gamma rays are the dangerous ones. Beta rays, not so much. Let's see. Cobalt 60 EXP exposure chart. Cobalt 60 and Iridium 192. Ooh. Man, they had me working with some crazy shit, huh? Joker. I'll have to eat like a lot of gefilte fish to like keep my energy up. Okay, here we go. Let's do the calculator. They've got this thing online. No, this is for a company to buy cards. Cobalt 60. Boy, but I'll tell you guys, it was the funniest thing ever. Like, I'm sitting in this room with the guy in the VA, and I was telling him all the stuff that was wrong with me. And the second I said I used a Cobalt 60 radiation source for as many hours as I did, oh, hold on. Here's a story from 2013. Apparently, some robbers. Burglary Blender was liable to have sustained fatal raid dose in truck snatch blunder. I want to read this story. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Okay, so basically what happened was is in Tijuana, some guys were, they stole a truck full of Cobalt 60 that was meant for a hospital waste center, and it was robbed in Tijuana. The guys stole it and were around the truck for a while, and apparently, yeah, beta and gamma radiations with a half-life of 5 years, Probably had no idea they were stealing it, probably soon died from the radiation exposure. Yep. Boy, wow. So it was held inside. Now, I do remember they had the lining around it was really good. I probably should. I probably should get some iodine and flush myself out. But, so yeah. Yeah. Lots of all these crazy things. But that's some more about the radiation. Jew Hulk, he says. Okay, now to Bigfoot. What is Bigfoot? What is Bigfoot? What is Bigfoot? What is Bigfoot? Well, it only makes sense that there would be something in between. But you have to ask, I guess to ask what is Bigfoot, you have to ask what is man. Nice. Here's an idea.
They said
Sasquatch, Bigfoot, same thing. Just called by different names. Good call, though, Evie. Let's say, though, let's go off of one theory of how we can come up with it. Let's say aliens came to Earth, right? And they're like, we want to make an intelligent race out of we want to make an intelligent species. So you start with what's available. There's clearly an abundance of primates available. So we take the primates and we start splicing in DNA. Right? We start splicing in DNA till we get something close to what we want. Okay, but you get to they made something a little more intelligent than a primate, but not as intelligent as a human. And the flood that happened in Noah's Ark was not really a flood. It was the aliens trying to wipe out all their failed experiments that didn't work until they were able to achieve what they called Adam, or would be Adam, the first man, which would be the first man, the first humans. Adam and Eve would be the first humans, but not the first people. Because there would be ones that are close to it, but not quite there, what you were looking for. And this would explain why when Adam and Eve had their first sons, they would still be the first men, or humans. But it explains why when Cain killed Abel, he went off and was still able to find someone to marry. Because there was other people. And then Noah's Ark would be an attempt to wipe out the subspecies that were involved. But in doing so, they created a primate that was intelligent enough to be able to escape the region that was going to be... You don't need to do a worldwide flood to flood everything. You just need to flood the area that you were doing your experiment in, a contained area like the Middle East, Baghdad, Tigris, Euphrates. You only have to flood that area to wipe out all of the experiments. But let's say that a primate that was intelligent enough, just intelligent enough to realize that it didn't fit with everybody else, maybe it just kind of wandered off and did its own thing, and that's where Bigfoot came from. Bam. We just covered that. We knocked out Genesis and Bigfoot in the same thing. Jew Hulk. Jew Hulk smash. Exactly. See? So it's child's play. And I think that's where Bigfoot came from. And that's where you see different Bigfoot adapted to different regions, such as the Yeti, the Bigfoots, and things like that. But see, I think they would have started with what you were saying, Gigantopithecus. You would have wanted to start with Gigantopithecus because the kind of work that would be being done, moving those heavy bricks. Think about this. They say that it would take X number of men, X number of time to move the stones in Egypt. But if we were using monkey strength, it wouldn't take nearly as many. Not monkey, I'm sorry, primate strength. Almost, essentially alien, I would say alien primate erotica. You know, if it was the movie Ted.
It could even be human.
Look at the movie Ted.
They say DNA is close to between human and
chimp.
And what if somebody just bred with one?
Yep, there you go. What if an alien came down and had its way with a chimp? And
it doesn't even have to be a chimp.
If you watch the movie Ted, there's a scene where he touches him on the head, and I've always told you guys I think Hollywood likes to reveal things to us through movies. And not Ted, excuse me, Paul. Paul, that was the name of the movie with the guys from Shaun of the Dead. Paul. Watch the movie Paul. And he touches him on the head to give him all this knowledge. And there we go. And at one point you see him, he's got the monkey legs. What if that... I think Seth Rogen got some insight, and he wants to let people know what he's learned from the inside. And he's telling people in his movies that he makes... And of course, though, Hollywood won't get mad at you if we all laugh at it. Paul is an amazing movie. An amazing movie. I was actually very skeptical when I bought it. I was like, it's my... I like these actors. I've always been a huge fan of them, so I'll watch this one. It was better than I thought it would be. What a great idea. And it put such a real spin. Whoa, where did all these people come from? 22 people all of a sudden jumped in. Okay. So Paul was a great movie, but again, I think through Hollywood, that's exactly what they do, is they put out real information through comedy, though, and because people... Now everyone's fading. They're like, listen to this Jewish crazy kid. Nobody wants to stick around for that. So if they tell you the truth, but we laugh at it, nobody thinks twice about it. But you were told the truth. You have to look deeper into everything. There's more layers to everything than I really think there is. They show you what they want, and then they set up an underlying layer to cover it, and that if you dig through the first layer, you hit this one, and you should be satisfied. Well, that was actually cool. For a moment, we had like all of a sudden out of left field, like 12 new people out of nowhere jumped in. And that was actually kind of cool. But yeah, they faded very fast. Not our type of people. Not our people anyway. Anywho's. Okay, what's our next theory we're going to hit? Now again, guys, I'm just using my brain to... You're putting in the information. I'm just toiling it around and spitting it out. Do I believe it all? No. I was in Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars. Who am I? Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars. Okay. Ooh, this is a good one. Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars. Ooh, that's a good one, Sip. The Force. The Force is within us all. It binds us. The Force. I like that one. That was good. I guess I would say R2-D2 would be in Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars. That's the only person I can come up with. R2-D2 made an appearance in Star Trek's Into Darkness. If you remember when the ship was being blown up, there's a scene, hi Mom, where R2-D2 goes by. Doctor Who, I believe, has had an R2-D2 somewhere in the background on the Dalek ship, and of course he was also in Star Trek, or Star Wars itself, so David says that. So I'm going to say R2-D2. He would be the only character, unless you're referring to a human actor. No, I'm not wrong, though, David Smith. I am correct. It's just not the answer you were looking for. That was my mom, Phil. That was Mom. Mom walked by. So, there we go. EB. All right. But who? Well, I want to know what David's answer. David Smith, would you... What is the correct answer? What were we looking for? I'm interested to know now. Was there a character, like an actor? Or do you mean like a... Because R2-D2, I was really kind of going on a stretch with R2-D2. Because he wasn't all three of them, but it's not a real character. It's a character, not a real person. But, and then you also say Doctor Who, so I'm one...
Somebody said space.
Sip said space. Space. Coaster World said space. But I was wondering, though, is that... Are you referring to old Doctor Who, new Doctor Who? Old Star Trek or new Star Trek? Old Star Wars or new Star Wars? You were in Paul. You were in the movie Paul. Newer Star Wars. Were you? That's so cool. Were you an extra or something like that? Huh? A little extra? That'd be cool. Hey, man, I'd love to be an extra on a set. It would be fun. Actually, I don't think I would love it. I would tolerate it just so I could be it. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, then, okay. If you're going to go that route, then Doctor Who, I don't know if the redheaded guy from Shaun of the Dead, I know he was in Star Trek. He played, what's-his-face, Scotty. He was in the new Star Wars at the very beginning of The Force Awakens. The guy who Rey sells her harvested computer opponents to, who gives her worth 4 portions or half portions. That was him. And then in Doctor Who, I don't quite recall, but I'm sure he was on there. I'm sure he was. Or maybe I saw an episode. So there we go. So, yeah. I guess then you could also say what actor was also in Star Wars, Star Trek. I would imagine Doctor Who. I guess you could have also said Warwick. Warwick would have also worked, I think, in those as well.
What?
And Harry Potter.
I can get it myself if I need it.
The short guy from Willow. He was in all of those movies as well. Let's see, if you remember the movie Star Wars, The Force Awakens, the stormtrooper who says, Simon Pegg, the stormtrooper who Rey uses the Force on and convinces him to unlock the door and leave and everything like that, that was George Clooney. Everybody wanted in on the new Star Wars one way or another. People were getting cameos in that movie like crazy. If you're a fan of the movie or the TV series Game of Thrones, you'll know that the big commander lady was the blonde knight lady from Game of Thrones. I forget her name. I can never get it. I remember the look, not so much the face. Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, wow, I was still stoked for a moment there we jumped up and I don't know what happened there. We doubled our viewership. Everyone looked at it and they were like skeptical. I don't think I want to watch him. Nah. What it is because I'm not sitting in a fancy background little office and I don't have my mic in front of me like this and I don't have my earphones on and they're sitting there and they're like, nah, this can't be any good because he hasn't put all the money into it like everybody else. But again though, I like to see what I can do just with my phone. Just with my phone. Sometimes I do use the handy cam, but for the most part, almost all my YouTubing is done via phone. And I just want to see. And it's because that one guy, what's his name? Casey, I can't remember his name. He did a video and he was talking about it too. And he was like, what can you do with just a phone on YouTube? And you'd be surprised. And I like that notion of what can we do with just a phone on YouTube. But moving on. Never saw Game of Thrones? Ooh, David. I didn't see Game of Thrones until what? We got the first season about a month ago. I got the first season about the architect on Doctor Who. That was it. I knew Evie would have known that. Evie, I like Doctor Who. Evie loves Doctor Who. So I could have she would have been together. Ooh, good one, Coaster. Hold on, let's try it again. Maybe if I talk some more about, you never know. Cobalt 60 is used in some material like that. They probably heard it and they were like, phones. There he is, Casey Neistat. Thank you. He talked a lot about that. And about what can be done with just a person, creativity, and a phone. I was like, absolutely. That's what I do. I do creativity with just me and a phone. What can I pull off? And I've come up with some amazing different things that I've been able to do with the phone, different ways of recordings and throwing filters on and playing with it and coming up with ideas on how to break the internet with using just a simple phone for recording and broadcast. Everything in general. But, yeah. Now, tomorrow, guys, I have to drive to Nashville or the other side of Nashville. So I was thinking about going live for that. So you guys could at least hang out with me for the ride. Now, I wouldn't be able... Well, yeah, absolutely. Cobalt 60. Cobalt 60, not 64. Cobalt 60. There was a site, and it probably doesn't do very good that I'm talking about Cobalt 60, and then I started Googling. Let's do it again. Maybe we can, if viewers jump up. I got to go to the VA. Got to go to the VA over in Murfreesboro. So I think I'm going to go live from the car. Just put the phone up, and you guys can hang out with me and Evie while we drive there. She'll be able to visually tell me what you guys are saying, and I'll talk to you guys that way. It's about an hour, 15-minute ride. No, I won't be stopping for any deer. Thank you, Gary. But let's do this again. We're going to type in Cobalt 60 again. And we're going to see if the viewership jumps up. If I start talking about... you can make a DB with it easy. A DB? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Cobalt 60 uses. They said there was, you can make a bomb with it. I don't want to say. It can replace X-rays. Industry to irradiate food sources. Wow, that's not good. It can be used as a preservative to irradiate food sources. Maybe that's why my hair doesn't turn gray, because I was preserved. Maybe I'm gonna live forever because I was preserved. Oh, well, thank you, Phil. I won't lie to you. Cobalt blue is a very pretty color, Joe. It's one of my favorite colors. I remember when I was a kid, I got a chemistry set. And I'll never forget that there was a bottle on there that said something about cobalt, and it had a poison face on it. And I was just like, ha, 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 I hold poison. I always thought that was cool. I loved my little chemistry set. But I wasn't the type of person where I was like, I want to follow the instructions. No, I was like, let's mix chemicals. That kind of thing. I see. I'm sure there'd be a way to make a dirty one with it. Anything that can cause... You can make a dirty one out of anything that's radioactive. Enough of anything and it can be bad. But do remember, though, when you make a bomb... I probably shouldn't be saying this. This is probably why we're getting in trouble. Cobalt blue? Absolutely. But I guess you can remember this, too, that if you could get enough of that into a particle form and get it airborne, you wouldn't be killing people with radiation, with the explosion, but the irradiation intake and everything like that. So you could really cause some big problems that way. For instance, detonating high altitude wouldn't cause a lot of fallout, but it's the particles that would later come down. What are you doing in there, Pipes? You hanging out in your little house? She doesn't go in there very often. She's been going in this little... I got good on this little 2-tier kitty cat round thing. Everybody with cats has one. And she just recently started going into it and hanging out a lot more. But I also do love to load it up with catnip for them. So they go in there and then they're having fun. But her and Minimum like to play with each other in and out of the houses. I love watching cats fight. It's so fun. Chemtrails are spreading the man flu. Yep, absolutely. Man flu phobia. They get us sick, keep us sick. There's better ways that you could do things. Always a better way. Chemtrails. Municipal catnip. What I don't understand is why is an animal allowed to have a right that I'm not? For instance, if your dog is sick and wants to be put to death early to be human, we humanely put an animal down, but we won't humanely put a human down. That's funny. We're humane towards other creatures, but not to each other. So if an animal is sick, old, and dying with cancer, it's fine. You just put him down. We'll stop it. But Dr. Kevorkian goes to jail. As you know why? It's because cats don't pay taxes. That's exactly it. Cats don't pay taxes. If animals paid taxes, or you had an animal tax, a pet tax, they would probably stop you from allowing you to put your pets down. I only eat human... Well, people who are like vegetarians, I eat meat. You're eating my food's food. Why would you do that? But we buy the animal foods which are taxed. Yeah, that's true too. But they don't tax you on a pet tax. But if you had a pet tax, you wouldn't be able to put your pets down. They don't mind you taxing on the meat because they tax you to buy the cow, and then they tax you to sell the processed cow, and then they tax you to pick up the cow, aka beef. So there's plenty in there, plenty of taxes. They don't need any more of those from that one. Taxes, there's plenty of taxes going on there. No taxes on pets. Most people, if you think about it, short of buying an animal, rescuing an animal, you can go get a pet for free anywhere. You can go find them on the streets, behind 7-Elevens, Craigslist. No taxes. No taxes. You can have a pet. But if we implemented a pet carbon tax, as Daniel suggested, then they wouldn't. I bet they wouldn't allow you to take your pet and have it put down right away. There would probably need to be at least a form filled out and approved by a doctor, another week to stall out, and then maybe they tax the shot more. The parasites are just a bonus. Tomatoes screaming when picked. There's a thought. Did you ever think that Attack of the Killer Tomatoes? Good thing. Good movie. I saw it. Now you guys remember on Atari, I have Attack of the Killer Beefsteak the beefsteak tomatoes on Atari. And I really want to play that one. I also have Porky's. If you guys remember the movie Porky's, we all should be at the age where we remember the movie Porky's and think it's absolutely hilarious. Absolutely. I'd take my dogs over some people most of the time. Just to be honest. Except Evie. I love her. I'd be torn between her, Butter. Who do you save? No, I'm kidding. It's Evie all day. You starting another fire?
I'm so cold.
Evie don't feel good. She's been sick. I'm probably about 24 hours behind her on sickness right now. So I'm watching her to know what I'm looking forward to. This just started.
Well, the good thing is I don't think your mom's going to get it.
The Last Supper tomatoes. I love it. I want to see it. That sounds so good. You should have put it a little farther forward.
It happens.
No, bring it forward. Grab it in the middle with your hand.
No. You see? That one's hot.
Yeah. So paper would have been burned. There you go, right there.
Just on it.
Balance it. There you go. Perfect. Right there is wunderbar, yeah? All right. So the Last Supper tomatoes. Did you shoot expert? I believe I did. I was shooting generally about 34 out of 40. I think one time on my lowest range qualifications, I thought I shot a 32. And because I pulled the 50 meter, the 125. I pulled the 125 meter just a little to the left, and I missed the two of those. So 32 is my lowest with an average of about a 34. Although, I'll say this, though, I was never given my... I got my first one in basic, which I qualified with a 30, and they gave me that one, and then when we went to the range and requalified, and I got my first 34, and pretty much I stayed consistent, 34, 34. I always shot pretty consistently. Plus, I had the same rifle for the longest time, so once you get them centered, it's that... Oh, semi-autos, absolutely. I'd rather be precision. What if potatoes are parasites of Mars? Then the parasites from the butter planet are going to have some big issues. Because tater, even if... I guess this is going into... I guess this is kind of going into that the hot dog movie. Sausage Party.
I almost bought that for you today.
I thought we had it on digital.
I don't think so.
It's a good movie. I want to see a sequel.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, that if you traveled beyond the ice, which I would say in the movie would be Antarctica, you would find... I think there's something that would be then... The movie is like this. It's telling you that something in Antarctica, beyond the frozen wasteland, you'll find the answer. Now, you do remember the pilot who flew over... He said once you clear the ice, there's an interior that's warm with running water and new predator this movie. Gonna suck. It's gonna suck.
Look how cute that is. Look at that.
Oh, I know.
Oh, that's too cute.
You should have seen it earlier. She jumped out. Piper jumped out, ran over to Minimum over here, right? They were sitting together. She came. They sat face to face. Piper put her paw up on Minimum's shoulder, and Minimum just went boom and took her to the ground. I was like, she almost was asking for it,
They were holding hands the other night.
Yeah, it was so cute. The cats were sleeping paw on paw. But right now they're hanging out in their little houses.
I'm glad to see that they're using it now.
They say that when cats like to go into small confined areas, it's because they feel stressed, and they feel less stressful in a confined space like that because they can see everything and they know nothing's coming.
Minimum has no stresses in life at all.
Yeah, she never hides in small. Well, of course she's all. Minimum's laid back like. That's my cat. Awesome. What can I say?
She's my cat. She was laying right here earlier, and I was petting her, and she was purring.
Oh,
and you know how rare it is that she purrs.
Yeah, Minimum doesn't purr a lot. She just kind of does her thing, and
she's my little buddy.
She
has your attitude, but she's my buddy.
I would say I don't really own Minimum. I think of her as more just like a roommate.
She's here.
She comes and goes. Doesn't really bother anybody a whole lot. Does her own thing.
She goes outside to use the bathroom. It's not like she really does it.
If she paid rent, she would be a perfect roommate.
And she just buy her own food. But Piper, man, she's annoying sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But see, we need a third cat so that there's one in the bottom.
Why did Egyptians revere cats? I think the reason, to be honest, I want to come up. We're gonna do a brain toss in just a second to come up with a really crazy idea of why they revere cats. But on an honest note, I bet it's because honestly, cats would clear up a lot of mice and rats, which were probably hugely associated with disease. So having a cat around was actually like a good thing for keeping healthy. Maybe, They're small, cheap to maintain. They really don't need a whole lot of attention. But when they do have attention, it's nice. And they kill things that are a nuisance. So, yeah, I guess it'd be a good idea to have a cat. And that's probably why. But now, let's dive into why. She owns the apartment. She owns the house, absolutely. You need more subs. Plus, did you watch my video on what the new rules really mean to maintain... 4,000 hours every year, right? You mean 4,000 hours a year, correct? Not every day.
Come here, Piper.
Because, yeah, I'm well over that, Phil. I'm over that by about 25% of what I need to maintain. You need 4,000 hours every day? Is that what it is now? Now it's every day you need 4,000 watch hours a day?
It can't be a day because some people don't post every day. They post weekly.
Over the last 365 days, right. Click the tab. Okay, hold on. Because I know that it's 365. You have to get 4,000 watch hours a year. So I'm well over that, guys.
I was going to say 4,000 a day. People don't post every day.
Okay, go to analysis. Okay. Hold on, let me see what Phil said. I want to keep track of this. Has to stay. You will see. Has to stay the. Because I get that, guys. I'm right. Like this month alone, so far between January and January 30th, I've had 35,000 watch time minutes, which works out to something along the lines of 600 hours. So I've received already 25% of my of what I need for the year in this month. But you said go under what now? It's not a year. Go into analytics. Click on the last 365 days. Okay, so what? Views in the last... I'm down here. I'm not sure where you want me to go into analytics. I'm in analytics. I guess I can go into watch time, right? Going into watch time. And then you do... watch time to date. I guess you do the last 365. Where am I supposed to go here, Phil? Because I'm not seeing it, buddy. Daily. Okay, last. Yearly? Is that what you mean, yearly? Change to last 365. Okay, watch time period. What am I changing to 360? Oh, okay, I guess the overview. overview. Where do I change it? Videos. Oh, 28 days. There it is. Last 28 days. Last 365. Last 365, I had 411,440 watch time minutes. So let's do you have your phone, Evie? Can you do that for us, the math? 411,000.
Hold on. Yeah.
411,404. I knew I was good, Phil. I've always said I was. I did the math on it. What it needs to work out to a month is you need to get something divided by 60 for hours.
6,856.7.
6,856. So I'm 2,800 hours over the requirements. I almost have enough plus to do another channel. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm looking at this big drop off, which was back in one of these days. I had a huge jump, which was 1,000 views or so in one day, or excuse me, one day, 24 hours, and 30 hours of watch time in one day. So trust me, I'm accounting. I'm accounting always for that. I'm gonna lose some viewerships. But the nice thing is that I'm not. I'm well within it. I'm well within it. All right, so you're getting close. Everybody's getting close. But thank you, Phil. Trust me, man. I appreciate you always keeping me informed of this stuff because it helps me stay on my toes and knowing what I need to do to keep it going. So kudos. Congratulations on your promotion there, Staff Sergeant. But generally, a lot of my videos, like for instance, my big ones that have been doing very well is the magnet fishing videos keep me going afloat. I've got so many other random odd videos that pop in and out, and I'm always updating the tags. You guys have no idea that when I started my YouTube channel, I wasn't doing a whole lot of, I didn't get a whole lot of viewership, obviously. And it was because I didn't know how to work the tag system. Tags are very, 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 very important. And then I learned to work the tag system, but I didn't learn to work it correctly. When did I make the magnet fishing video with all the views? That was probably about in May. So we're coming up on a year of that video being up. But do remember, even over that whole lifetime, people only watch about 4 minutes of that video. So it's not like I'm going to lose. It's 23,000 views on it. 29. It's at 30,000, I think now. 30,000 views, average of 4 minutes of view. You're looking at 160,000 minutes then. Even if I subtract that from my 6,000, I'm still well over. I'm still well over. And I don't see that video slowing down anytime soon. It's still getting very, very popular views. It's maintaining at least, I think every 2 days it gets over 100 views. So roughly that's 15,000 views on that video a month, and it's just that one, and they're watching an average of 4 minutes of video, which works out to 60,000 minutes of watch time a month, which I think breaks down to 100 hours a month on that one video. 100 hours of watch time a month. Over the year, that would be 1,200 watch time hours on one video, and that's 25% roughly of the views I need from one video. And there's other videos that I make that are getting close to that numbers. Maybe this one's getting about half of that on average. That one gets about a fifth, another fifth. And certain people watch more than others. So I would think so. I should be cool. I got into YouTube early before stupid rules kicked in, and I think I have enough content and amazing people like you hanging out with me that we can ride this storm, no problem. I feel bad for the guy Kevin LA Beast. His channel got shut down, and then he was able to speak to somebody on Twitter, and they were able to get it reinstated. But the poor guy is losing revenue left and right on YouTube. They're demonetizing all kinds of... It's funny enough, is I even wrote to him and I told him this. He got a video demonetized for eating live bugs, right? And I'm like, well, I guess because you're whatever. But a lot of people around the world when did that happen? I just saw the text today on Twitter, and he got it reinstated today. But I guess he got in trouble for eating live bugs. But yesterday, Vanity put out a video on YouTube with Nicole Kidman eating live bugs, and not just one. She ate like a few dozen different live bugs, which is I got nothing wrong with eating bugs. Quite a few people around the world eat bugs, which is why when they say it's something to show this, that's really weird because all over the Food Network, it's nothing but Andrew Zimmerman eating bugs. What? No, I didn't. Yellow Snow hasn't gone viral. I wish it would. It's not gonna happen.
Better stop.
Well, that'd be cool if that video, but I don't think anyone's ever gonna. I don't get a ton of views. I like to hit. If I can hit 1,000 views a video, I'm very, very, very happy. I'm surprised it's only gotten 128 views though for eating yellow snow. You would think that would be something people would think is funny, or playing with the snake. No. But the minutes when people do watch my videos, they watch for a decent amount of time. I'd say most times if I see a video that's stupid, I'll click off it within the first 30 seconds. And I usually, like I said, an average of 4 minutes, which is funny is you guys have me at 4:20 right now for watch time, which always makes me laugh when I see it. We're at an hour and a half. We're going to go another 30 minutes, guys, and then I'm going to take off and get out of here. But we're not done yet.
How much longer?
30 minutes more. 20 minutes more. Yeah. Nope. It grew to 4:40 average watch time. Now you guys make me sad. And Gary gave us a nice super chat the other day, so that pushed some numbers up. I'll be getting I should be getting my next payout from YouTube, and whenever I do a payout, I always apply it towards some kind of video to do something special for the channel, because then we have a budget. So I got to come up with something. The last one is we went up and saw SIP. We bought a plane ticket to go see SIP so I could shoot magnet fishing and metal detecting in Massachusetts, which was an absolute dream. David Blakely says, hello, Evely.
Hello.
She's hopefully you can hear her. She's all
I'm starting to lose my voice.
So weak and tired.
I'm not so weak that I can't put Starburst in my mouth, though.
Yeah, right. But you guys are keeping it going. We keep the channel alive. Hello, cousin Evie. Phil says he's got to go.
Bye, cousin Phil.
Bye, cousin Phil. Okay. I still think it's interesting how out of nowhere we peaked at 25 viewers, and then they all disappeared. So I don't understand if a group came in, if somehow one person saw it and then decided to jump in, or I don't know. That was just very odd. To have a group of people come in and monitor us like that. And it felt like that's exactly what happened, because they stuck around just for a few minutes until I acknowledged that there was extra people here. And then all of a sudden they were like, get the hell out. And then everyone split. It's just odd, people. It's just odd. We were talking about a touchy subject. George might have sent them over. That's very true, but George isn't here tonight. Generally, when he sends them over.
George was here earlier.
Was Georgie here?
Yeah.
I haven't seen George today. I don't think so. I would have been like, Georgie, as usual. Everyone would have been, hi, George. But George is a good guy. He's always pushing for me, and I appreciate it. I really, really do. He's always sending me funny stickers and stuff along those lines. Let's see. Common Conspiracy Theories. That's a good title. I like that. We did cover quite a bit of common conspiracy theories. I don't think we solved anything, but we had fun talking about them. I think, at least. I know I torture my family with this every 2 hours. They're like, oh, we gotta be quiet and go somewhere else and do something else while he does this crap. That's okay. I torture him for you guys.
I need to blame them from now on?
Absolutely. This is not my fault. If they didn't like watching me, I would stop doing this. And, no, I wouldn't. But and so it's all, this not my fault. That's funny. Now, I'm sure someone's going to jump in here later and take this. I love when people are going to take this way too seriously, and some people are going to tell me why the Earth is flat. And they're going to be very, very passionate about letting me know how much of an idiot I am for not believing so. When I made the chemtrail video, somebody got on there and they were like really upset at that. I was like, they're like, you don't understand the principles of this and that. And I was like, geez. Okay. Guess I don't. They got upset. I love doing this though too, guys. I've had a couple people give me some really negative comments, and I can tell that they're troll sites. So what I did is I tell them, hey, thank you, blah, blah, blah. Awesome. And then I subscribe to them. When I'm like the only subscriber, they create a fake account to say something to me, and then I subscribe to them anyway. And I got one lady to pull, or what it said was a lady. I got one person to pull their comment back. So that was, you saw. You've seen those couple ones. I love answering those ones because I come at it with such a nice approach, and I try to be like, when you're being an ass and someone stays completely respectful, wow, that can really piss you off. Because they want, the idea of a troll is to bait you into an argument. And instead of arguing with them, you just tell them thank you for your input, and hey, I'm going to keep talking to you more, and it really just does not go the way they hope for. And when it doesn't go the way they hope for, it's going the way you want, and you've taken it away from them. And that's the whole point, is that I love doing that. No. No. Maybe someday. Oh boy, I know, right, Daniel? You need to buy, and I'll get a hold of you tomorrow or sometime soon, Sip, so we can get that plane ticket locked in for you. Yep. Oh, and the chemtrail ones? Oh, I know. I know. Oh, I know. I love it because every time they have to come back to comment again, generally they have to come back to the video again. So it's another view. The whole time they're commenting, I'm getting playtime. That's why I'm saying I want trolls, because if I had more trolls, I'd have more viewership. But I guess that's something like Brad was telling me. He goes, man, I get so annoyed at trolls. And I was like, yeah, but just be thankful that you're popular enough out there that you get trolls. You know? I got to stop going on live so late. I need to really back it up till about 4. So I can catch more people on the line. And then that's about 1 o'clock in California. And that puts it about 10 o'clock for you guys in the UK. And that's something, I don't know what time that is in Australia. I think they're 19, 20 hours ahead of us. So it'd be about noon in Australia maybe. The next day. I must say, that's hard. But Canada, I want to say this. Big shout-outs to everybody from Canada. Canada is going to catch you guys in the UK very, very soon. They're going to bypass you for the number 2 spot. Who was it else? Germany is coming up out of left field. They bumped India out. But I'd love to shout out to everybody in India. All the peoples in Canada. All the people in the countries that watch me. A lot of countries, too, guys. That's something I enjoy. But that's probably a conspiracy, too. It's all just one big conspiracy. Okay, guys, we're in our last 15, 20-minute stretch. We're almost finished. You guys have been here for the whole 2 hours. Thank you. If you haven't thumbs up already, do so, please. Don't forget. It helps me out. Share if you've enjoyed some of the crazinesses we've come up with. Oh, there's George. George is here. Well, he's not here, but he's sending me a link. Let's see what George said. Oh, okay. So something about a cannabis club in the UK had another meeting. Very nice. Thank you, Georgie boy. George is always great. Always pushing for it. Talking to family about me. Helping out. OJ. Well, everybody loves OJ. George might have sent them over. Possibly. George does that quite a bit. He's always sending out mass emails for me, and I haven't figured out how to do it. I'm not supposed to, on YouTube's terms of conditions, that I'm not supposed to mass spam people my stuff. But see, though, I don't like the idea of mass spamming, because usually what happens is I've had a few people do some mass spamming for me, and all of it came from Norway. And the problem with it is that I guess it was nice to pick up a bunch of subscribers, but I think over the time I've been bleeding them out as I gain new ones, because they weren't really interested in the first place. So, all my views are naturally earned. As best as possible. If I ever got close, maybe I'd just watch all my material on 10 different devices and make sure I boost it back up. Ha! Gotcha there, YouTube. Just go into a playlist on like 5 devices, connect to the Wi-Fi, and just hit play all, and just let them run through 24 hours a day of viewership. There you are, George. There you are. Oh, well, thank you, Davo. Thank you. It always helps when you guys share. That gets the biggest thing going, is sharing on Facebook, tagging friends. If you think that this stuff will be, find a video from the older stuff. You're breaking up. I'm breaking up. Stay on target. Loosen up. Stay on target. What movie's that from? We discussed it. That one hair keeps just falling in my face. There we go. Gotta get it behind the ear. I'm learning. But, wow, I'm running out of... What are the conspiracies? We have time for probably one more good, funny conspiracy that we can mind shuffle. We'll do both sides, too. We're going to say why we don't think it's, how we can disprove it, and then we're going to try to come up with a theory to prove it. So, let's come up with one more theory to go over, and we're gonna try to present both sides of the argument on for and against it. Is it breaking up? Dang it. I don't know if you guys can see me clearly or not. So, which one should we do? There's tons out there. JFK. The JFK conspiracy. I don't really think that's so much of a conspiracy, as that's pretty simple to point and click what happened there. No pun intended, point and click. Is it lagging still on that end? Hold on. Let's try to see if I can correct it for one more last bit. Here we go. Hang tight. Hopefully that fixed it. We'll see. Uh-oh. David's hooked on the member berries. I remember. You remember? I remember. Okay, so the conspiracy says JFK. That's kind of a touchier one. Let's do a fun one. We want a fun theory. A fun conspiracy. Loch Ness. I
was going to come say Loch Ness.
Loch Ness. Okay, even Mom agrees. Loch Ness it is. So let's do Loch Ness.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do the Loch Ness monster. Is it coming through okay, clear? Are we getting a good picture? Because it keeps stalling out on my end. If it doesn't look good, let me know, and I'll switch back, and we'll finish up the last little bit. Because this keeps stalling out. I don't like this.
Oh, it's delicious.
Picture on your guys' end. I need to know. Are we getting good picture? Anybody? If you just want to type a 1 if we're getting good picture, that would be great. Because mine's showing that it keeps buffing over and over and over and over again, and that's just annoying the crap out of me. But if it's coming through clean and it's not being interrupted, we'll just keep going. Yes, Sip, I see you want Atlantis. We're gonna do. I think we're gonna do Nessie though. What? Let's go 4. Let's first argue for there being a Nessie. What would Nessie be? Well, clearly it would be some kind of water dinosaur that was that when water levels rose, it came in through the locks. It does lead to the ocean. It makes sense that it would be a breeding ground. Yeah, what? That'd be funny.
I think
that
there are underwater tunnels and river contributaries. Is that the word?
They already know that it connects to the ocean.
Because there's no life in Loch Ness because it's so freezing cold.
Need more food to eat. Therefore, Nessie, being a nursery, doesn't work. There's not enough food.
Not in the locks.
Now, okay, but again, though, that why would a dinosaur or an animal still be there if it can get to the ocean?
Because that's like by migratory in them.
Again, that could possible, but then what other animals can we think of besides maybe, well, that would have to suggest that Nessie is a saltwater creature.
I'm not sure. Like I said, there's a lot of gray areas. I just believe.
Well, I know, but you have to put this, we're going to do one side of it. We're going to argue for, if it incubates in, like, bull sharks do this, they incubate their babies in fresh water, but they also have a gland that stores salt in their head. The problem with that being then is that if it was a baby that was born, the gland would have no salt stored and the baby wouldn't be able to survive.
And you think the mother wouldn't know that and take care of it?
Or, well, I guess then maybe it could be because the salt could be borrowed from the mother's body to make that the gland. But again, we come back to the food source. The rivers that house bull sharks have plenty of food sources for the babies to eat on and grow until they're able to return to the ocean.
But obviously, Nessie is being fed from somewhere.
I guess blood could get salt out of it too.
And they're smart enough to know.
If they're real.
If they're real. We're going on the premise they're real. When we're hungry, we find food.
Megalodon. The proof of Megalodon, I don't think that there would be an animal of that size anymore, only because it would be really too hard to... Nah, you would spot them by now. Something would have floated around. An animal of that size would have had, with all the submarines we have, you'd have a lot more sonar and identifications.
Our oceans are deep.
They are deep, but again, though, the deeper you go, the less food there is, which means a shark of that size could not be down at those depths. It would need to be where there's larger whales being around.
What about in the trenches?
The Mariana Trenches? Again, though, not enough food in there to support a megalodon. An animal of that size would need to eat on something the size of whales, which means if that was the case, we should be seeing chopped up whale bodies appearing all over washing ashore. A head, a tail.
But we do see chopped up whale bodies, not frequently, but we do.
No, you don't see them chopped up. You see dead whale bodies float ashore that later on like pop and explode, but they're not bitten into by anything of substantial size. A megalodon would take a blue whale, which is the largest landless mammal in the world, and it would bite it in half. Okay, we don't see anything that would suggest like that. We don't see any new teeth floating ashore. You don't see any of the evidence that would suggest a megalodon would still be roaming the waters.
Okay, I agree with you there, but Nessie has been seen by so many people.
Well, we also know that the original photo they showed, that black and white one, we know that was faked. There's never been a solid photo of Nessie. There's been things moving through the water, but no one's ever gotten an idea. For instance, as sea lions would swim, they would arc at the same time, and it would make this hump effect if you have 3 or 4 of them doing it. To argue for Nessie is only the sightings that so many people have claimed. There's so much sightings. Now, either people are believing there's this one big thing there, which it couldn't be the same one. So we should be seeing sizing varies, but it's always like this very long thing. I don't know, maybe it's a new species of eel. That could make a lot more sense if we went with that. It's a new species of eel. Then it could explain some size and things like that. The smaller amount of food needed. It just doesn't make sense to think that there'd be a large carnivorous animal that would live there.
Scottish people on a whole aren't taken to drama and fantasy, and they're very salt of the earth people.
Well, I guess so, but they've also done that boat thing back in the 80s where they took all the sonars and they rode the whole length of the locks, and they used frequency radio waves down to see. And
what's to say it wasn't there when they did it?
Well, it makes sense that where would it be?
That's the question.
Again, though,
where would it go for its food? Where does it go to give birth? I mean, there's just.
Well, Joe seems it is you, David. It's not me. It's you.
Part of me just wants to believe, I guess, and that's part of
I guess, but then, I mean, that fits in the idea then there must have been dinosaurs.
Well, of course there were dinosaurs.
That argues with the young Earth theory of 5,000 years or younger.
I believe that, too.
You believe the 5,000 year?
Oh, definitely.
Only 5,000 years?
Yeah, I don't believe this Earth is half as old as people think.
Nah, see, that's where we differ, is you can't have dinosaurs and have old Earth theory, and young Earth theory. It doesn't work.
It works for my mind.
Where'd the oil come from? Takes thousands of years to form oil.
Who says?
Okay, so you're assuming that oil was put on so that someone would understand that we'd have cars? That makes no sense.
No, but oil is a byproduct of rotting. Look at the tar pits in California.
Okay, exactly. Look at the tar pits.
There's so much.
Loaded up with creatures from periods that never existed around each other shows extended periods of time. Unless a being made the tar pits and stacked animals in there dead, which makes no sense whatsoever.
That makes no sense.
No sense whatsoever. So you can't go with the young Earth theory if you want to look at the tar pits for reference. You can't have where you have a megalodon down here or an animal here and then another period of an animal here and then you see stacks and layers of animals that never existed in the same time. And the only way with the young Earth theory was that a creator would literally have to make an animal to kill it to put it there. No sense whatsoever.
But you're taking your mind and you're trying to categorize everything. And what if everything you think is wrong?
So what you're saying then is that for me to try to understand something that's beyond me is impossible.
Exactly.
So why do you think that your reference for the Bible would be possible if you think that that's good enough to understand?
That's a heartfelt, that's mind, body, and soul.
See? You can't do that. Now you're mixing apples and oranges and want to tell me that it's not the same fruit.
I can do it.
But you can't believe, so for me to understand why a thing would want to put an animal in there, that's illogical to try to understand that logic. However, a book.
No, because I have children, and my children did their own thing. You have your own way of thinking, even though you came from me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it wigged me out, but I realized being a parent, you put your kids in this earth.
Hold on, stop. I'm bleeding out here. It's not working. I'm losing everything.
Aww.